What's up everyone? How's everyone going? It's Josiah here. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for coming. Well, where do I start? February, it's almost the end of February 2020. I know. It's fucking crazy. Where the fuck has the time gone? I can't deal with how quickly time's going. And I feel like I haven't done anything, but at the same time, I know I've done a lot in the last 2 months. But yeah, what I wanted to jump on today and talk about is that with this platform and YouTube, I really want to create a community where we can learn from each other, talk about life stuff, and grow, and yeah, just build a real community where we can all learn from each other and grow and prosper. Who doesn't want to fucking prosper? But yeah, so I want to talk about life really. But in today's video, what I really want to go over is I want to talk about my coming out story. And everyone has one of some kind. I know my situation specifically, I got off really easy in terms of like how bad it was. Like I know people who've come out, like I've heard stories and spoken to people who have come out and like their families have just treated them horrifically. And also just the community. Like some people just don't have that good community around them that is very open, and yeah, so I don't know, I was just let off really easy, and I did have a struggle, like a bit of a struggle with my parents specifically, but they came around in the end and it wasn't anything too major. But yeah, so where do I start? So I didn't actually come out by choice. It was definitely a forced situation with both parties. My parents are separated, so I had to do the whole ordeal twice. And let me tell you, it was a fucking ordeal. But it was one of those things that it was forced. So yeah, I came home, I was 16 when I came out to my mum. I came home and I was severely upset. I'd just gotten into an argument with someone I was seeing, and dating, and had been for like 5 or 6 months. And they told me that the girl, their best friend who they told me not to worry about, who's a girl, he was closeted gay, he just didn't really want to own up to his shit, which is fair enough, everyone has their prerogative, and I learnt my lesson. But anyways, he told me that he gotten his best friend pregnant and now they're dating, and the timeline works out that while I was still seeing him, he was seeing her as well, and then that he got her pregnant then when we were still seeing each other. So that got me all upset and down. I don't know, I feel like anyone would be upset over that situation. Especially when I was 16, I was such a emotional person already, and probably still am a bit, I don't know. But yeah, so I was upset. I came home and my mum at that point still didn't know I was gay. And she seen I was upset, and and I went through a severely like backstory, so it all like makes kind of sense, is that I went through a severe depression in my teens and early 20s, and it was always a concern for my mum. And so she was like, I came home and I was really upset, and she sat me down and she was like, what's wrong? Let's get to the bottom of this. And it was kind of one of those situations where it's like, I didn't want to speak at all about that circumstance that happened as to why I was so upset. But it was, at that point, she wasn't taking no for an answer either. So I was being like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I'm just going to go to my room, and she just wouldn't have it and wouldn't leave me alone about it. And this went on for a good hour, I think. And in the end, she just pretty much said, are you the G word? And it was one of those things where I couldn't say gay myself at that point in time. It just made me like cringe, and like I could like not even cringe, it was just a full body thing. Like it just would stop me from saying it, and I just struggle saying it. And even my mum couldn't say the word. She said specifically, "Are you the letter G?" And it just toppled onto like everything else. I was just like, oh, this is just not the time and the place that I can deal with this right now. Like this is just too much. But I ended up saying yes, I am. And it was one of those things. My mum's so old school, and so is my dad. And they are very Aussie battler style. Like they're very old school, like hard knocks, like kind of vibe. And they really, I mean, that wasn't really what they had anticipated for my life. And I know it was hard for both of them. And my mum, for the first like hour, kept questioning me about it, as in she would ask me, have I tried having sex with a girl? And I was like, Mum, I don't need to. I know. Like, I'm one of those gays that I've never actually had sex with a girl. Like, I've never done it because I don't feel like I need to, because I know deep down that I am. Like, I really like the dick. I don't need to try the vagina because it just grosses me out. I don't know, I won't get a boner from it. So if you know, you know. But yeah, so she kept questioning me about it. She kept saying, are you sure? And this went on for a good hour to 2 hours. And it was just awkward. And it was one of those things that, like, I know in her way that she loves me, but at the same time, I know she's going to take a lot of time to process this, because this is not, like, she would have known in the back of her head for ages. Because, like, I'm not the most butchest male. So she would have known, my sisters knew that I was for ages. I just hadn't come out to anyone. But it was also that kind of denial thing where my parents, or my mum specifically, didn't want to believe it because I was her only son. And I mean, that's fair enough. That's her, and she's allowed to have those emotions and those feelings. But it was hard for that first week afterwards that she found out and I told her and we had that conversation. It was awkward. It was so awkward. We kind of didn't really talk. It was kind of one of those things where we kept our distance. But after a week, from what I remember, we came back together, and it was just one of those things for a couple of years where it was just unspoken. We didn't talk about it, but we had an understanding that we loved each other, and then we just like pretended like we knew what the situation was, but we didn't talk about it. And each year my mum's gotten a lot more open with it, and she's way more accepting now than what she was at first. And like, her and I talk about guys all the time now. So it's an amazing turnaround. But it was hard. That first week was hard, but I know in a lot of circumstances, my whole coming out to her was a lot easier than what other people have experienced. On my dad, coming out to my dad, it was probably like maybe a year later, if that. He was a bit more tougher with it. Like, him and I have not had a great relationship most of my life. It's been very rocky, and it's been one of those things where we would talk for a little bit and then we wouldn't talk, so we would have an argument about something. And we're both like, I am my father's son. Like, but we're such the same person that we're so stubborn. So when we think we're right, we will dig our feet in the sand and we won't budge. And that's probably why we would spend a year at a time, maybe not talking, or maybe like 6 months not talking. But anyways, so the way that it came out with my dad was that we were on the phone, we were speaking, and it went back to the whole like depression thing. Like, I wasn't having a good week, and he was like, well, what's wrong? Like, open up a bit and tell me what's going on in your life. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, I just can't even talk about it with you. Just because it was just, you know, when you're just in one of those spots and you're so down and there's only specific people you can really talk to about it, and confronting something so heavy and such, you know, it's got a lot of depth to the conversation. You can't have it with certain people, and that was like that with him. But he pretty much, oh my god, it was like the exact same way that my mum asked, and it was just so freaky and like, oh, like, it's just awkward. He goes, are you the letter G? And it's like one of those things where it just makes me want to crawl up. I just want the ground to swallow me whole, practically. Like, you know, it's just one of those things. It's awkward. Like, I don't want to have this conversation. I just want to be in my shell. But he asked me and I said yes. And this turned into a whole massive argument and debacle. And really, after I said that, it took him a couple of minutes to like get his thoughts together. So we were just sat there awkwardly silent on the phone. And he pretty much goes on to tell me, well, are you sure? And I was like, yes, I'm sure. And he's like, well, we can get you tested for that. And I'm like, what the fuck? What kind of sci-fi shit are you watching? You can't get tested for being gay. Number one, I'm pretty sure it's the way that I was born, but I don't know if you can find a test for that. I'll take it for you. But it kind of ended in a massive argument, and he ended up hanging up on me. So after that, we didn't really talk for like 6 months or something like that, and it was just sad. It was sad, but at the same time, I knew that at the time I was very upset about it, but looking back on it, I knew that he needed his time. So yeah, that was the hardest. It kind of spiraled me down a bit more, just because, I mean, you want the approval of your like parents, you know. That makes it really hard when a parent doesn't approve and accept it. But he's come around in the best of his way. Like, he is a real traditional, not even traditional, he's set in his ways. He's got his mind made up about the way that the world should be, and he's very old school. And he's a real Aussie guy. Like, he's a real biker kind of guy, like a lad's lad. Like, yeah, like that was his life, and that's fine. And he's come around fully now, and I mean, we don't talk about guys that would really probably just tip him over the edge, and he would probably have a heart attack right there and then. But it's an understanding, you know? We understand each other. And yeah, so we're good now. The rest of my family took it really well. My two sisters, I mean, my older sister, she found out probably like a year before I told my mum. And it was probably the most fucking awkward thing when it happened. So I was a horny prick when I was 16. And I was already on Grindr, I know, at 16. But I was already on Grindr, and she asked to use my phone one night, and we were sat across from each other at in the backyard, at the table. Oh my god, I can't even talk. We were sat, across from each other, and she asked if she could use my phone for a second. So I handed it over, and as she was using it for whatever she was doing, I think she was on Facebook or some shit like that, my phone dinged, and it was the Grindr notification, and my heart just stopped. Like, it dropped, it stopped, and as soon as it dinged, I see her look, because like we all know that Grindr notification if you've got it or if you've heard it. I heard it, I see her look up at the notification, and she like is holding the phone, looks over at me, looks back at the phone and puts the phone down. She's like, Jessie. are you gay? And it's like, at this point in time, I can't deny it. I got it right there. I can't, like, because my whole thing, they've asked me, both my sisters had asked me years before and had asked me up until this time, am I gay? Every now and then. And I'll just say no, because I couldn't deal with it at that time. And for this to happen, I don't know, it was kind of like a relief, but at the same time, it was just like, fuck. So I said yes, and my two sisters, and yeah, so she found out and she was all cool with it. Like, I knew she would be, but at the same time, I just didn't want to have that conversation because I was in denial myself. But yeah, both my sisters were really cool with it. They helped me through a lot. They helped my mum and my dad come around to the idea. And really, they were the most supportive. And so was my grandparents and my other extended family. I couldn't have really asked for a better support network and family dynamic in that way, just because I know that they will always have my back, always. But yeah, so that's my coming out story. I mean, the rest of my, like, all my friends were really cool with it. I think if you've got friends that aren't cool with it, then really, are they your friends? And why the fuck are you hanging out with them if they're against it? And if they're against you being happy at the end of the day. Yeah, so that's my coming out story. If you resonate with that at all, if you liked it, please comment, please subscribe. I'd like to hear, like, people's stories of coming out in some sort of way. But I just want people to know that it's not a good life hiding yourself. I lived it's really lonely at the end of the day. And I lived such a secretive life for so long when I was younger. Maybe, like, I knew that I was gay when I was like 10, 12, but it was just coming to terms with it and realizing that I actually wasn't. I liked the opposite sex, and then realizing that I shouldn't really like it because that's what society was throwing at me at that time. But yeah, it's a really secluded life, and it really forms such a repressed state as a person. Like, everyone should be able to live their true self, and if you can't do that, it's just really depressing. Like, you're not living. And I lived that life for so long when I was younger, in my teens, growing up, and even in my early 20s, I was like, even though I would tell people that I was out, I was still trying to come to terms with it then, you know. But yeah, I just want people to know that they should be themselves and not to hide themselves, because it is such a, like, I know the pain, and I know how lonely it is when you are closeted or just hiding something and living a double life. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, please like, please comment below. I want to hear your stories, I want to hear your feedback. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, have a good one, guys. Bye.